Welly, welly, well, well. Much like the lines of a cult classic film, mystery abounds and hangs in the air, especially when a carton arrives marked, "Please handle with care." We'll have to do a larger than normal box opening, and with determination of what we might have. And the cardboard conceals styrofoam. Extra cardboard. Obviously the fragile component of this should be taken seriously based upon the amount of compressed styrofoam that we have here. Looks like this may need to be tacked with a little more diligence. A bit more work on cutting and tearing reveals an entire section of compressed foam packing. This will require a little more leverage than I can manage with one hand right now. So we'll come back to that. With a bit more leverage, the styrofoam has been a bit more separated. It's about ready to come out. A bit of a clam shell design. Let's see what this clam has to offer. And by all appearances, we have an attacking piece of foam. We have a bit of a cabinet. And upon removal of the packing foam, it appears that we have a cabinet. A very industrious cabinet, a very useful cabinet. A cabinet referred to as a humidor. And now completely removed from its encasement of cardboard and pressed styrofoam, we have the interior of this tower-style humidor. Workmanship appears to be very well made. There are drawers, shelves that have yet to be removed and unpacked, and then a lower area for the humidification device. The interior of the door facing or facement continues with Spanish cedar for the lining. There are magnets for the door catch, and the exterior is well finished. This particular humidor is in a black finish. Matches just about everything, much like a lady's little black dress. And so we'll be stocking this piece of equipment. I think we can safely call this equipment. This will be where the hygrometer will be mounted. This is an interior space for the hygrometer to, be able to read the contents, although more than likely a few hygrometers well placed inside the humidor will be a very good idea. The interior of the drawers have slats to allow for the humidification to circulate from drawer to drawer, area to area, all the way through. And of course, these are the shelves to be mounted in the upper area of the cabinet. The box stored in the lower area of the cabinet contains wheels, caster style wheels, that may be attached to the bottom of this humidor cabinet for ease of movement. These appear to be bolt-on or screw-on style, so once they're on, more than likely you want to keep the wheels on. I'll make a determination on that later. Now, during the installation of the electric outlet at the rear of the cigar cabinet, we have encountered a slight misadjustment. As you can see, the cedar, the Spanish cedar liner around the edge of the electrical outlet has snapped away, and that's because it was not correctly aligned at the factory. You can see also a gap of light through the edge there, and again, so one of the defects is the molding around where the electrical outlet will be placed. As the electrical outlet presses in as it's being screwed, I heard some cracking, and that is because the casing split away a bit. So this is going to require some level of adjustment. And now, after some adjustment with the venerable zero tolerance knife on the molding or the framework for the electric outlet, it now fits into place. I was able to actually tap it back into place at the pinpoints here without using any adhesive, and it seems to be holding relatively well. We'll see how that goes here in the near future. So, in place and good to go. Now, at this point, we have the cigar tower cabinet style humidor installed. The electronics at the rear, the plug, is properly placed. It was slightly off with regards to the placement of the frame, the cedar frame around the outlet itself. That was adjusted as per the photographs. And at this point, I have opened the Cigar Oasis Magna humidification device. It's a humidifier for display type cases. There seems to be a mistake because I had requested the Cigar Oasis Magna 2. Apparently there is a secondary or a second version of this, an upgrade if you will, a version 2.0. So I'll be contacting the distributor for this, and we'll try to get this corrected. Now, upon closer inspection, the Cigar Oasis Magna humidifier is most likely and possibly, quite hopefully, is actually the Magna 2.0, the humidifier that I had requested. This is a newer version of the Magna. It is supposed to be improved with an improved or an increased level of air circulation by way of a better fan system. So we do not have the Cigar Magna. We don't have that, unfortunately, but to do a comparison, that is. However, sorry about that. However, we will be able to look at this a bit closer and maybe compare some of the Cigar Magnas, the first version, with what we have here, and hopefully discover that we do have an improved version of the device. The side slats, I believe they are called, come off from the side here and from the other side there, and the top with the fan devices lifts. Your H2O goes in there, preferably with some humidification beads, and it did come with a bag of humidification beads. We've already looked at these in the past, so I'm going to make an assumption that this is the requisite number of humidification beads for this device. They've probably pre-measured and determined exactly what you need to make this device work properly. We have our power source, I believe, here with a micro or a mini USB. Another plug adapter here, most likely for the Wi-Fi transmitter. And this may be the fill port here for the H2O. And the fans, we do have two fans on the inside of this. I'm not sure if the original has just one or not, but this definitely has two fans with the exhaust point at this side. So we'll be installing this and hopefully prime this humidor for proper use. The remaining box is empty at this point, and we'll discard that and get to work on installation here. Installation of the Cigar Oasis Magna 2.0, and again, this is presumably the 2.0 model, even though it does not indicate it on the housing unit, requires the application of the pre-measured and included beads. We'll just go ahead and remove the cap here. We'll call it the cap for right now. And open up the Ziploc of the beads. Now the instructions indicate that the beads should be poured through the access port. That would be the access port here, lifting that white cap. However, just for a little more full disclosure, we'll pour the beads in through the main compartment, and distilled water should be added up until the level of the vertical lines, again according to instructions. So the bottom of the vertical lines should have the distilled water, as you can see is there, and simply place the lid back on. I will place the slats into place and plug in the wall plug. Now this goes USB to the plug itself, and then mini USB into the device to power. The cap and blower unit is now in place with the slats on the side installed. The beads can be seen inside, and according to the instructions, it's possible and advisable to go ahead and start the unit up even though the beads have not fully expanded to their full expansion. So we'll get this into place, get the sending unit, get the reading unit, the hygrometer installed. It will plug in by way of this plug into that point, and we'll place it down here near the lower part of the unit. Shelves and trays have been placed to properly display the contents in a bit, and of course the hygrometer here. Hopefully we'll get a good proper reading on this hygrometer, but there will be hygrometers mounted throughout the unit in various strategic points. So now with the humidifier installed and connected to the plug as well as the hygrometer and temperature gauge by way of a cable running down through the proper areas, we should be ready to get started. The humidifier has the requisite amount of water, that's distilled water, and if possible, we may be able to see the progress of the beads. The beads have begun to expand, however may not be at full capacity. At this point, we will plug in the plug for the humidifier. We have a green LED light and great, the humidifier has begun to to spin. We have both of the flaps lifting up, which is indicating that the fan's intake back here is properly bringing in airflow through down to the water level and then back up again. There is no intake here, the intake is back here. So that's a good indicator that this is functioning properly. Have a good plug at that point. Coming up to the sensing unit, we have 46.4, 77 degrees Fahrenheit, 70A, 70L, which may mean the lowest that this has read, and 46.5. I'm going to cycle through this one more time. 70H meaning high, and now we've got nothing on the LED screen. And then 28.5, and then 19.5. I'll probably need to consult the instruction manual a bit more. Obviously the case door is open. I hope that that indicates what the relative humidity level is. And of course this will be placed more securely by way of the adhesive tape and hook and loop fastener at a later time. Now this is 3M, this is a 3M product, so I'm going to hope and trust that the adhesive of the 3M product is probably better than some of the adhesives that we've seen regarding cigar humidification devices. The shelves, or rather the drawers, will be replaced into their housing there, and we'll see what kind of a rating we get at this point. Just by way of comparison, not that it's important at this point, but we've got 4.0 on the relative humidity reading on the built-in hygrometer. Now an additional observation is I just placed one of the drawers back into position, and you'll note that there's more than enough space for the wires and for airflow behind the unit. As you can see, more than enough space. It's almost one full, maybe 1.5 inch back there to allow for airflow. So hopefully this will function very well. Now we have the shelves and a supplementary tray installed, and the humidification machine has been running for about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to elect to add a Boveda seasoning pack. This is an 84% humidity based seasoning pack. I'll be adding that to help prepare and season the humidor for use. We'll go ahead and snip these, open them up. And once these come out of the cellophane wrapper, they begin to work. So you do not open these packets any more than what I just did. I'm going to place it up here. And the second pack, again, this is a seasoning pack. It's not intended to be maintained in a humidor for longer periods of time, but the seasoning pack will be left. In addition to the humidification device running. And hopefully that will help accelerate our preparation time. Now we've been running this for about 1 hour and have stocked the humidor with a few boxes of cigars. And of interest is that, if you can see, the beads just inside the container, the beads have expanded considerably and may be floating on top of the water that is distilled water, but you can see that the beads have expanded quite a bit. It's coming out of focus there. I apologize in advance, or I apologize at the time. However, we have supplemented the content of the humidor, and of course these are some other boxes that have been aging for a while, but with the Bovetta, and also with a supplemental bag in a nylon of the humidification beads. There's been a number of examples of that in the past, but in essence using a nylon material to fill up with the humidification beads. So hopefully this will play out quite well. The LED reading is reading at 48.0. Up here at the top it's at almost 45, and of course we will add some additional as we go. So it'll be interesting to see how well this plays out.
Currently at almost the 12-hour mark post installation of the Cigar Oasis hygrometer and humidification system, the slight humming in the background is the humidification system motor still running. So there's a slight hum involved with this that is audible outside of the case. The electronic hygrometer is reading at 65.1 RH, or relative humidity, and that is at about the mid-level of the cabinet, as indicated in earlier. I had taken the liberty to install a supplemental Cigar hygrometer, and it is at the shelf just above where the electronic hygrometer is at, and it's reading at 65% RH. So it would appear that the electronic, the electronic hygrometer that's attached to the humidification system is very, very close to the factory preset Cigar, which is factory set at the proper humidification reading or ability to determine the humidity level. So this is at the 12-hour mark, and hopefully by the 24-hour mark we should have the entire cabinet up to approximately 70% RH. And we should probably add that although the Cigar hygrometer is reading at 65% RH, the cabinet mounted hygrometer on the exterior is reading at approximately 52% RH. So the cabinet mounted hygrometer is just a bit off, but keep in mind that it is at the very top of the cabinet itself, and therefore there's a bit of space between these other hygrometers.